All right. Today on the podcast, I've got Karen. Dr. Karen Osburn is a former practicing chiropractor, women's empowerment coach, and the host of the Women Wanting More podcast. She lives in Calgary, Alberta, with her two sons. Karen, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks so much, Laura. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So you and I connected through Instagram. I love social
Social
media,
media,
finding
right?
social media friends.
Yeah, totally.
And I love have got an awesome story that I'm excited to unpack today. You've been through your ups and downs. Tell us like a little bit about, what you're doing right now and maybe how you got there.
We're gonna be here for the whole day.
I know, right? that was a loaded
I'm 54,
question.
so like there's been a lot of lives that I've lived over this time here on the planet. And so I think maybe the quick and dirty of this is, I practiced with my then husband for 14 years, had a great practice. We ended up like walking away from practice, a lot of it due to he had a chronic illness. And we just started to reach out into other things of like, what are other ways that I can kind of reach women? And I always wanted to write. And so I started writing a blog on a chiropractic office website back in like 2012. Talked about all these different things, and motherhood was the theme that kept coming up over and over and over and over again. And so my path to motherhood was a little different than most. I tried to conceive for like 7.5 years, never could, ended up adopting both of our boys. And so becoming a mom at 41 and then 44 was a different experience. And then being an adoptive mom, and I didn't really speak into adoption. I mean, I talked about adoption, but that wasn't the main theme. But the thing that I kept coming across when women would read my post about motherhood, and the thing that almost threw me for a loop of like, Jesus, this is really hard. Like, I babysat kids since I was 8 years old. Like, I've always wanted to be a mom, love children, but it was a really different experience. And I found it frustrating because the conversation was not back then. It's kind of still not at times, of just like, hey man, motherhood's hard.
Yeah.
It's okay to say that. We need to talk about it, because I can't be one of these mamas, like no judgment to these mamas, but up at 2 a.m. baking cupcakes because I got to get the stuff done for the school, whatever, right? I'm like, I can't. So it was those conversations. So that then birthed the first podcast, which was called Mom at 41. So that's when I became mom. The first time. And that ran for about a year and a bit. And I just kind of felt, I'm like, I think the conversation's kind of done. Like, it just didn't light me up. And so that morphed into Women Wanting More. And that's been running since August 2015. There's over like 800 episodes. But then in that time, I was married. If you would have said to me, hey, 5-year previous Karen, guess what? You're going to be divorced. You're going to, you're not going to be doing coaching anymore. Because then from Women Wanting More, I then morphed into like women's coaching. And I did like one-on-one, I did group coaching. A lot of it was virtual, did live event retreats. I created online courses, like did a whole lot of stuff with that. And then was still kind of doing that. And then COVID hit. I'm like, well, I guess live retreats are done. I got to figure something else out. And I jumped back into a former network marketing company that I was a part of. Kind of did that for not even a year. And I was like, man, I can't get it going. Like and through that though, it was like going through the divorce. And so there was a lot of parts and pieces. And then had someone reach out to me about the wellness company that I'm in now. And everything just kind of clicked. So, and kind of, through that too, it was like, my world was upside down. Everything that I knew. Oh yeah. And also I lost my dad through that, my 2 dogs, went through menopause, which no woman ever really understands until, so this is, I love when you're saying, hey, I'm talking a little bit more about what it means to be healthy. Because if I could go back to menstruating me and go, no, having a cycle is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And this is as a chiropractor. I know all the things about the body and all that. And I still didn't have a full grasp, even of menopause, of going through that journey differently. So like, to me, there's never any regrets. So I've always, just to kind of put a bow on this question, this answer, right? I've always just taken situations in my life that have been difficult, somehow gotten through them, and then kind of lived to tell the tale and wanting to create some kind of meaning out of it. And so, just the whole conversation about divorce, I talk about at times, and being a single mom now, and really morphing more into like, hey, listen, ladies, sisters, like, we don't need to be running ourselves into the ground.
Yeah.
Did that, got me into lots of stuff. My hair all fell out a year ago. It's growing back again now, all sorts of autoimmune stuff. I've been super healthy my entire life, and have just been hit from one thing after another, after another, after another.
Wow.
Doing all the things that I think are the right things for marriage and being healthy and being a mom and all of it. And just realizing that some of the things that we've been led to believe about health as one are just not true. And
Yeah.
they're certainly not true for how our bodies operate as women. And so I think it's great that you're having these conversations, Lori, because I think women are they're really hungry for the information, and they're often afraid to kind of raise their hand and say, hey, I'm really suffering over here.
Yes.
Even though the conversation about women's health is more in the forefront, right? Even though the issue of mental health is more in the forefront, it's still, and then, we could have a whole tangent conversation of this thing of kind of wiping out a lot of women and some of the weird cultural stuff, my opinion, very strange cultural things that are happening to kind of nullify women. Gifts and the magic that we have, which without getting too deep into that.
I gotcha. I'm following where you're going.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, and then it's post-pandemic, and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it's just been like, hey man, how can I share this story? How can I help other women not feel so alone? And to just, it's like, I think anytime we go through crap, it's like, you can't bypass it. You can't go, well, let me find the lesson. Boop. Let me go through all the icky middle stuff. No, you got to do that. You have to feel all those things. But then how can you create some kind of meaning on the other side? And so that's kind of where I am at with things. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, what a perspective to, and first of all, I'm like, just let me wrap my mind around that. Cause I feel like I have clients that that have stories like this of like, so you went through, obviously we all went through the 2020, lockdowns and things like that. You went through divorce in the middle of that. It sounds like job changed. You lost your father. Like that's a lot of
menopause
in the middle of that. Then these hormonal changes. I mean, that is it's amazing when I have clients come to me and they say things like that, and they're like, yeah, I had all this and this and this happen. I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot for you to go through. But to speak to what you were saying, where women are afraid to say, hey, I don't feel well. I think sometimes we feel like we're the only one going through it, that nobody else, this isn't, it must just be me. And then maybe if we do go talk to, help, whoever that is, doctor, OB/GYN, we kind of like, women get dismissed. Like, it's normal. You're getting older. You're a mom, we really get dismissed.
And certainly don't toot your own horn, because now you're fill in the blank, whatever derogatory term that, you know what I mean? And so that's why even women, like you said, they're kind of like, oh yeah, I've been through all this stuff, like no big deal. And you're like, what?
That's
sweetheart, like holy crap, look what you did, that's amazing. I'm like, so that's why I think sharing these stories are really important, because it's like, it's kind of a little cliche, but it's like when you do these things, you kind of give other people permission, other women in this example, permission to do the same, and to not feel like they're the only ones.
Oh, definitely. The other thing I want to unpack too is just you and I feel like this is my story too. I am a medical professional. I have a health background of like, I literally went to school for this stuff. And I've had to learn about my own body. I wasn't taught really like things now that I'm learning through experience. So it's just speaking to that of like, women are maybe going to get help. And like, that doesn't necessarily mean your clinician knows and is trained how to help you.
Oh God, no. Well, I mean, if you go to like, majority medical doctors, at most they get us 30 hours of nutrition. So don't even think. And then we could go there too, if you want to know that the majority of their funding comes from big pharma, and they learn their information from the medical journals, which are all advertised by big pharma. And it's not because they're bad people. It's just this, you got to just understand the facts of where the information is coming from, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got the big food and the pyramid and all that BS. So yeah, it is. It's wild, right? To kind of like, I feel that I have learned more about health and healing and the way the body works since I left practice in 2016 than all the years I spent in school and all the years that I was in practice.
And do you feel like that's because of what you've gone through with menopause and just like looking for your own answers?
Yeah, it's like, so I, in 1992 is when I graduated with my first degree. I was 23 at the time, and my brother's a chiropractor. So I started working in his office. I had a job in my field because I had an honors BA 4-year degree in psychology, and I thought I wanted to be a psychologist and help people that way. And I got a job in my field, and I'm like, Jesus, everybody's just put on medications. Like, no one's talking about what's going on and how are they eating and like any of those things. So when I look from 1992 to 2023, literally from working in my brother's office for 4 or 5 years, one other office, went to chiropractic college, went through all of that, practice everything. So like, kind of like almost like observing health over the last 31 years. The conversation of health, specifically since pandemic stuff, right? People are like, oh crap, I guess my health is up to me. If they didn't realize it before, I guess I'm responsible. I guess it's not genes. I guess it's not this. It's not right. It's not like I've always been this way and therefore I'll be, and this is how I was raised, and all these excuses that we kind of throw out and giving our power away. And so I think it's a combination of, I'm just that person that loves to learn. Like I'll just sit down. So I'm a podcaster. I've been podcasting for a long time, but like I just remember discovering podcasts maybe like 2012. I think I heard my first one. It was still kind of like, what's that?
Like
Spotify back then. It was all on like iTunes and being like, oh my God, and just listening to people's conversations and just being really curious and really interested. So I'm just always that. I just want to learn. I want to learn better. I want to learn more. I want to, just curious. But I think, it's certainly been my own evolution, like through menopause and through life just being tipped upside down and literally not even, I can look back now and go, oh, the reason I was crying every day, depressed, didn't know who I was, when suddenly all your sex hormones just tank. And then if you have in the background, which I didn't know, issues with thyroid and adrenals and all of this, literally your body chemistry is just like, you don't feel like yourself anymore and you don't know who you are because you've lost all these pieces. It's significant. A friend of mine, I heard the stat on her podcast that the average age that women commit suicide is between 45 and 55.
Wow.
Isn't that telling? Going through menopause, a lot of, now not for me having kids a little later in life, but kind of empty nest stuff for those that are moms. It's a much more common time too that women get divorced. Maybe career stuff like.
Wow, I've never heard that statistic.
I know, it was like chilling to me. It's just like, oof, I got that dark over what I kind of often refer to my 5-year really long dark night of the soul of, so I think it has been a lot of like my own kind of self-serving in a way, I think, but just wanting to learn. And there's so much more that is out there now, the conversation of these things about mental health, about trauma, about, nutrition, like there's no more hiding this stuff, right? And how much we get from social media and how much we can learn from all these things, which is great. You got to be a little discerning of some of the stuff that's out there for sure. But it's almost like things come so much faster now, right? And I think the world's moving faster, whereas before it'd be like, well, I got to consume this whole book called the Paleo Diet, which I did back in 2009 to kind of start to go, oh wow, this is really cool. We should do like, right? And so kind of from there on forward, even before, like I was, that's just kind of been me. But it's exciting that there's so much more information that's available. So, when people get empowered and start making decisions and people go, well, you're not a doctor or something like that to somebody, it's like, well, that doesn't even matter anymore. You know what I mean? Like there's so
Uh,
much information that you might actually know more than your doctor.
It's true. It's true.
So it's an exciting time. It's a crazy time, but it's an exciting time when people are
Yeah.
really awakening.
Hmm.
And I think are realizing that, man, I don't have to believe any of these things. I don't have
Hmm.
to believe that as a woman, I got to do all the hats, all the things. I got to
Hmm.
push until I run myself into the ground because I probably watched my mother do this and my grandmother, and that's just the way that it is.
Yes. Yes.
So there is this, again, back to the such an important conversation to have
Hmm.
because women are starting to discover that, hey, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, like, I love how you said earlier, of giving away your power. So really taking taking ownership for, I would say that's something I find in my clients is they get to that point where they realize like they're exercising that autonomy and that like, I know there's something off in my body, even though everybody has told me otherwise.
Yeah.
Like your guts, your instinct your intuition is telling you there's more here.
Oh yeah.
So.
Nobody knows your body better than you.
I
Ever.
even remember learning that in school. Or maybe I didn't learn that in school. Maybe when in practice, like doing I remember maybe it was continuing education. Someone, or maybe a mentor, or somebody telling me, what you should do is ask the patient, what do they think the problem is? And how often it's like, well, I think that, I used to do this before and now I do this. So that's the problem. And like, yeah, I'm not with your
Yeah.
body all the time. You are.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
We know. And that's also too, and I think as women, I think we're all intuitive, but as
mhm.
women, that's a big part of our superpower.
Yeah.
Listen, stop thinking you got to go ask 10 Facebook friends in a
Mhm.
post of what they think. You know,
Yeah.
right? That's the greater piece of that, whether it's health,
Mhm.
whether it's relationship stuff, whether
Mhm.
it's career or like whatever, right? Parenting, you
Mhm.
know what is best for you.
Yeah.
Like just be still. Stop thinking you gotta again take the quiz or go ask someone or consult with your
Mhm.
doctor first. Well, a lot of that's just
Yeah.
liability stuff, right? But you know if stuff feels right or not.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's getting back to that.
Yeah. I'm curious, has it always been easy for you to follow your intuition, or is that, I think of my grandmother with this. My grandmother, like I remember telling my grandmother to like take a stool softener for constipation or something one time, but even before I was more functionally minded. And she was
Yeah.
like, no, I have to ask, I got to talk to my doctor first. And like, I think the
Yeah.
older generations didn't, were kind of
Sure.
more used to this paternalistic relationship,
Yeah.
but even not just in with your health, but just listening to your intuition. Is that something you've developed, or how has that been for you?
Yeah. It's a good question. Yeah, I'd say developed.
Mm-hmm.
There were definitely parts of my life that I would say like it is. I think if anything, I swung more to one pendulum
Mm-hmm.
of being much more aggressive and people are like, whoa, like
Outspoken.
I would just say it straight up, man. Don't
Uh-huh.
care who it takes out, like all of that. So I've learned to lean a lot more into my feminine and just, it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
more powerful to just like state your truth and doesn't have to come from a place of anger. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting when you look at all the craziness in the world, the ones that are doing the screaming, the yelling, and all this kind of stuff. Have you noticed in that unhinged, it's like there's so much unhealed shit. So,
Mm-hmm.
sorry if
Yeah.
you no swearing. I have
Oh
too
no,
much
you're
fun.
fine. Go for it.
That when I look back to the times that I would be really aggressive and angry, and I was like, oh, like people were pushing up against me and I didn't like it. So let me maybe try to overpower.
Mm-hmm.
Versus there's a way I think as you mature and just I don't know, get a little bit more life under your belt to just be
Mm-hmm.
like, huh, I don't have to allow myself to be upset by somebody. I can
Yeah.
go, I see things differently. Oh,
Yeah.
hey, this isn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what was your original question though?
Oh, I was
You
asking about the
answered it this way.
intuition,
The
your
intuition piece
intuition.
of that, yeah. I mean, I certainly, and there were other parts of my life, like when I was married, that I
Mhm.
ignored a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ignored a lot of stuff with
Mm-hmm.
the conditioning of no, no, no. Listen, man, like you stay in this, like marriage is ups and downs, and it is. I still believe
Mm-hmm.
that to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of things that I ignored because of my own past traumas, because
Yeah.
we become what we see and what we absorb and all that stuff of 0 to
Mhm.
7 self-conscious, right? I'm like, oh, I thought love was this, because that's how I
Mhm.
saw it displayed to me. And
Mhm.
then not to mention all the love songs and the movies and the
Yeah.
right, all
All
this kind
that.
of stuff.
Yeah.
And
How we get
so
told.
yeah. And so there were certainly things that I ignored a lot with that.
Mhm.
But then there were other pieces that I definitely would. Like I even remember like in practice at one point having this thought pop in of like, I don't think I'm going to be in practice my whole life. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm going to shut that down.
Yeah.
I'm a chiropractor and this is what I do. And I'll be in
Yeah.
practice until my last breath.
Mhm.
Like that was just, it was such a place of like mission and this is my calling.
Mhm.
And so I shut that voice down for probably 2 years. I was like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
Mhm.
no. No, this is the plan.
Mhm.
I
I
don't
was
know
gonna say
what this
it
is
probably
that's
doesn't
popping.
follow the
Exactly.
plan.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm certainly much more listening of it now, like
Mhm.
very much so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of trusting and stuff. There's
Mhm.
things that happen when you go through hard things that I think this whole thing of like, wow, I'm somehow the echelon to get to is like, be happy all the time. I had a good
Yeah.
day. Oh, I had a bad day. No, you
Mhm.
had a day. Like
Yeah.
it's both of these things, right?
Yeah.
And all of those moments, now when you're in it, man, it sucks. It's
Mhm.
horrible, right? It's
Mhm.
hard. I don't want to somehow paint this, Pandora kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's hard moments. Like literally the reason I'm still here on this planet is because of my children. It got
Mhm.
so dark for me where I was like, peace
Yeah.
out. Can't do it anymore,
Wow.
you know?
Mhm.
But when I look back on those times, man, it's like what that teaches you,
Mhm.
like the strength that you find that you did not know
Mhm.
when you get up just one more time and
Mhm.
one more time and one more time, right?
Mhm.
Like there's so much, and then, as kind of alluded to before, like live to tell the tale
Mhm.
and just let me share this in some way. And it doesn't have to be that people are like, oh, I don't want to air my dirty laundry. I'm like, okay, well, it's however you see it. You can talk about something and share in a way with a close friend over coffee. Like it's
Mhm.
whatever you want to do. I just feel called to something. I wanted to say bigger, but something that sounds like an ego thing, but like bigger,
I know
like
what
to
you mean.
to get it
Yeah.
out to more people, right? Hence
Mhm.
podcasting, hence writing the way that I write and I share on social media, and I have for years and years of feeling like I went through this for a reason, and it's not just for me to learn something, it's for me
Sure.
to somehow like teach it or share it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, that's that you can all you've been through and to have that tenacity or that, like that, hey, I'm gonna take this, what I learned, and help somebody else get through
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's amazing. Cause yeah, I
yeah,
know I've even for myself, there's just things I've realized recently where I'm kind of going, oh, poor me. And I'm going, wait, what am I doing? Like, no, this is an opportunity that I have
yeah,
to rise to the occasion to, be, develop, get stronger through this situation
yeah.
and come out on the other side.
But you can also have the poor me, right?
Mhm.
It's okay. Like it's both.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think if you've gone through something where you have been victimized in some way, then it's
Mhm.
okay to say that and not be a victim, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
okay to say, man, that's really horrible what
Yeah.
that person did or that situation or all these things that were on my plate. Like, man, that was freaking hard. It's okay. You can
Mhm.
sit in the poor me for a little bit and I think it's sometimes we also don't allow ourselves to do that. But
Mhm.
then there is a time when you got to go, okay, let me
Yeah.
set that down now. Let me set that story, that narrative, that piece of it down. And then let me move forward.
Mhm.
Right. So, but I think it's also okay to go, fuck, like this sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And name it. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not always want to jump to the end. When
Mm.
I was coaching women, and especially when we would do retreats and when we would be sharing certain things and stuff, and there's this inclination we have as women, and I think it's kind of that part of that nurturing piece of us to want to like make it all better. I want to kiss the
Yeah.
boo-boo with our kids and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And then wanting to go there. And I remember I would often say to the women that would come out when I coach was like, there's something really honorable, but just sitting next to a woman in her pain and just being there for her. Don't say anything. Don't try to make it go away. Just be there with her, And so I think we can do the same thing for ourselves of like, it's okay to have those moments. I mean, God, the stuff we know right now, right? Some of the stuff that we're feeling and going through, it's not even ours. It's like was it like 7 generations back of stuff that we're carrying? And those of us that I think are deciding to do some of this deep work, like it's heavy. It's heavy. So if you have a day where you're just like a mess, the best that you can, like lean into it, man. It's not forever. But it's like trying to stop a wave.
Wow.
Like,
that's a great analogy.
You can't, right? Like you kind of got to ride it. And so I totally hear what you're saying with that, Lori, of like, okay, come on. We've like, let's now pick ourselves up. But I think sometimes we can also be a little harsh. I know I have been over the years for sure. Like, come on, get your shit together. Come on, let's go. Push more, less sleep, do this. Like, let's just maybe be a little gentle and a little softer on ourselves first. And I think we're going to also see that ripple out to how a lot of women are unfortunately not so gentle and soft with each other.
That's great. That's great. I was listening to a podcast when I was driving the kids home from school or from driving home from drop off. And the woman was saying that she basically, she gave herself permission to say no to like, hey, I'm not going to come to this today, and how she recognized that like some friends came back and told her like, you kind of gave me permission to be able to say no when you said no to that. Rather than always saying yes, always being there.
Somebody's got to go sometimes. You know what I mean? It reminds me, you're talking about kids, right? I've got 2 boys. My youngest turns 10 next week. And then my eldest is 12 and a half. And so they're just like, right. And I'll be like, well, I'm not doing it unless he goes. No, well, I wouldn't be. I'm like, listen, somebody's got to go first here. Somebody's got to apologize, right? This is the same thing. It's like somebody has to be the one. And I think that's such a gift that when you share stuff, like I've had some people that have been following me on social media and listen to my podcast for years, that then kind of out of the blue, maybe they have the courage to kind of reach out and and I don't say this as like, look at me, the badge of honor, but you don't understand how much that the things that you shared really helped me. Like I just felt so alone. And how many people, maybe they don't have a circle of friends that are where they are or where they're moving towards. And it's a hard thing to be the first one, right? And so, and there's people that you'll never hear that you've impacted their life in a significant way, simply because you had the courage to go, hey, I've been through this stuff, and not have it come from a place of victimhood or, you're trashing people in a post or something like that's not cool. Right. But you've kind of gone through pieces and maybe you feel called to share it. We all need this. We're tired of the fake, right? We're tired of that.
Definitely.
Write an AI post. I'm like, oh God, like, no, man, be you. We need more human.
Yes. We need more human. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
It makes me think of when I was a new mom. When I first had my son, I definitely had some postpartum, mommy baby blues. And I had a friend who had a baby a couple months before me and who know, and we have lost touch since. So, she may have gone through some hard struggle too, but, she didn't say anything. And so I kind of felt like, well, she must, she seems to be handling this better. And so I remember kind of thinking like, I don't want to share that I'm struggling because it seems like she's not struggling.
I'm doing it wrong.
And I must
be.
Well,
oh
and
my
it
God,
was like,
I must be. Yeah.
I chose to breastfeed and she bottle fed and maybe I'm making it harder on myself. And I just remember I probably could have reached out for more help during that time. And it, it's just a hard time of life too, because you don't even know which way's up, but
Yeah. And listen, I think anybody can look back. Regret, I
Mhm.
think, is something it's it's an emotion that we all experience. But I also think that we can't really hang out there long, because then
Mhm.
now you're beating yourself up through a hard
Mhm.
thing that you went through. And
Mhm.
it's like, you got through it.
Yeah.
Life
Yeah.
feels like you're beating yourself up, like you're breaking open a wound that's healed, right? We all
Mhm.
do our best with what we know to be true at the time. That's
Mhm.
without a doubt.
So
I mean,
true.
I would have patients in practice that maybe they made some decisions. When I was in practice, the big conversation was often women would come to me, a lot of new moms, is about vaccination. And
Mhm.
so it's so crazy now. It's like, can't even say, maybe we got to bleep that word, right? The
Yeah.
V, it's nuts. But, and so my thing would just be like, listen, and sometimes then once they kind of found out facts and they went, oh my God, I don't want to continue to do that. That doesn't work for the way I see health, the way I want to
Mhm.
raise my children. And then they say, oh my God, I'm worried. Like, what if the other things and it caused, and I'm like,
Mhm.
listen, no, you did the best with what you knew to be true at the time. Now you know
Exactly.
something different. You can make a different decision.
Mhm.
Cool. That's called, evolving as a human being. It doesn't really work any other way. We don't like come in with like a book to go, and then on this day,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
shall make this. You go, oh, okay. Like you're putting together a Lego set with your kids. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. It's messy and we're stumbling and we're trying to figure it out. And I think if we see ourselves doing the same patterns over and over and over and over and over, then I think we got to sit down with ourselves and just be like, wait a second, this we're not learning here.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we can kind of only really do our best at each time. Don't you think that too?
Mhm. Yes.
It's easy
Yes.
to beat
Yes.
ourselves up, but
Mhm.
just be a little bit
I
more compassionate.
I
Yeah.
used to think that there was a right, and I think yes, some of my upbringing and stuff. I used to think there was like a right choice and a right answer, and if I choose wrong, then I'm, gonna derail my life. And
Hmm.
it used to paralyze me. I mean, I like
Yeah.
a simple explanation is like my husband and my best friend can attest to this. Like, don't take me to like Cheesecake Factory. If there's a ton of
Oh,
options,
all
if
the
you guys have,
choices.
yeah, I would get overwhelmed with choices, and I would be, I mean, literally with choosing what I want to eat, I would have a hard time making
Yeah.
a choice. And I was like, because I think too, I couldn't even identify really what I really wanted earlier in my life, and now I've
Mm,
been able to learn myself and go, this is what I want, rather
yeah.
than thinking about what I should pick or what's the right choice. Or I mean, the
Yeah.
restaurant is a funny exple, but if that played out, I mean, they would get mad because I was like, just pick something to eat.
Oh my God, Jesus. Um, yeah, I think just there's no wrong. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Even when I
Yeah.
look at, so I could look back, for example, when I was never able to conceive.
Hmm.
So I was vegetarian and vegan for 17 and a half years when it was like weird. Nobody knew what the hell it was at the time.
Hmm.
Um, I can look back now with what I know to be true, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sure I tanked my hormones at a very early age in my 20s,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Or, hey, I remember a holistic MD when I was trying to conceive saying you should be on like thyroid, let's get you on desiccated stuff and da da da. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I had women that were putting on Synthroid left and right, and I thought it was just such a
Hmm.
scam. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good, like I'm healthy, I'm whatever. So I could look back on all those things and go, oh my God, what if?
Hmm.
Right. But then I also take a look and I go, oh, I know exactly why I was never able to conceive.
Hmm.
I'm supposed to be the mother to these two little souls,
Yeah.
without question. Now,
Beautiful.
do I still have grief over not being able to be pregnant and birth and breastfeed? Of course. Like
Hmm.
there's a loss that's in that piece, right?
Yeah.
But we can look back, I think, and go, oh, well, that's why.
Hmm.
Versus thinking that we're so funny as humans, right? I'm just going to
Hmm.
control it all.
Yeah.
What do you think? Whatever your belief is, God, universe is kind of going, oh man, look at Karen. She's so cute. Think
Try to
she could,
control everything.
oh my God, guys, come over and take it. You know what I mean? Like it's so crazy. We can't, and we're not designed to be like, somehow there's this linear path, go to university, college, find the partner, get married, get the career, have children, to retire, like,
Yeah.
that has not been my life experience at all. And I know that's maybe some, and that's fine, but I think even in there, there's peaks and valleys in that journey that maybe not everybody experiences, because you're talking about mother. I remember saying to my mom, back to the thing of the beginning of like, oh my God, like it really, like it hit me becoming a mom, and just like, God, even like at 41 and I have more life experience, a lot of new moms, I understand things about health and all this stuff. And still it's like just kicking my butt. I remember asking my mom and saying, hey mom, like motherhood was hard. And I know I was the youngest of three. I got two older brothers, and I was not easy as a teenager, and that must have been hard. And she was like, no, I loved all of it. Like she could not. I was like, mom, it's okay if you say, nope, loved it all.
Yeah.
And so, I think there are just some people that they're afraid, maybe, right, of like, I don't want to say something because then I'll appear a certain way, not a good mom, not grateful, anything like that, for all the different reasons. And it's like, it's okay to be real. It's okay to share these things. And I think not, coming back to the conversation of women's health, right, which is what you're talking about more now. It's like, we need to have these conversations, right? It's not just, well, we got the physical thing, here's the hormone stuff, and then we got the emotional things, and no, all together.
Oh yes.
Mind body connection. We've never been disconnected, like we have been through conditioning and society and all these things, but like it's all together and the same. And so, and we are, whether people want to acknowledge or not, we are all connected. We're all brothers and sisters on this planet. We got to figure this thing out. And the more that we fight, or the more that we don't understand each other, or the more that we villainize people that are different than us in some way, or have different, like, how about we just listen to each other again? How about we just have conversations?
Not
Not all this, at each other. With lots of different things in life, it's way more peaceful to live. I'll tell you that way. I've been all different iterations, and like, it's way more peaceful to have somebody to see, maybe somebody not being the best human, not being the best version of them, or just, straight up being an asshole or something, right? Let's just paint it like it is, and just being like, okay, let me just go over here now. Like, next, I don't need to give that energy, or, oh my God, I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's just them in their stuff. Man, they must be really hurting, but not my business.
And you can walk away.
And then
separate or whatever.
Yes,
I totally agree. I feel like, man, this is you have such life experience, and just the richness that you bring to it of just sharing, and teaching there is just amazing. I'm curious, because we talked before, how I know your mission now is really of going through your divorce that you've mentioned, really supporting women when they are going through divorce now, right? And I get that right?
Yeah, I think, and when I had this wellness business kind of like pop into my lap, it was just at the beginning of divorce. I was like 4 or 5 months in. Nobody knew what was kind of going on at the time. And all the legal stuff, like even just the financial piece, it's a lot for women to handle all this. And unbeknownst to most people, they go, well, everybody just gets along, right? Like somehow it's this, no, that's not the norm of how this happens. And the divorce is typically for a reason. And it's, that would be nice, but that's just not reality. And I know that the financial piece can also be the part that some women they don't feel really protected during the whole process, because they don't have the funds, right? Or they go into all sorts of debt like I did, kind of thing. So I think, to me, again, wanting to create like meaning out of that experience of like, man, being able to like be there for my kids, like through the divorce process, still earn money, to have now where I had my foot in the new life that was forming on the other side of divorce at the same time, with an amazing group of people who had very aligned values, that is very connected to family and faith. and is a significant way to earn income, significant from what I've seen out there with other opportunities like this.
Mhm.
I was like, this is such a gift to be able to share with women because
Yeah.
there's financial piece, and then there's like you've lost kind of like a lot of there's a lot of grief with it, and like,
Mhm.
what is my life now, and who are my friends now, and
Mhm.
like it's just there's so much that you don't really
Yeah.
understand until you actually walk through divorce.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, I certainly have people that I do business with, and that would they're not divorced, right? They're not.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I think I was really wanting to speak into that, and then it's
Mhm.
kind of morphed a little bit more into, hey, you know what? As women, we don't have to be in a 9 to 5 for this many
Mm.
hours a day or week.
Yes.
There's a new earth that's coming in. There's a new way of doing life that can look
Mhm.
really different from what you thought it to be. And
Mhm.
yes, it can mean that you work from home, wear whatever the heck you want, right?
Yeah. Uh,
No matter of what your education or profession that you came from,
mhm.
that's just going to help you, right? I mean, all
Yeah.
these things, it's just all things that's going to help along the way.
Mhm.
Um, and you can do in a way that actually puts your family first, that
Mhm.
actually puts your health first.
Yeah.
And maybe you can actually help other people do the same thing and
Mhm.
start to really change things and have your kids be closer to you,
Yeah.
physically and emotionally, and not, and maybe homeschool if you want to homeschool your kids, and
Mhm.
to have more freedom to do things with them, and then model entrepreneurship for your children at the same time, I think is
Mhm.
such a valuable gift, because I
Yeah.
think that's the way that the world really is moving.
Mhm. I
Um,
agree.
and so, and then guess what? We have this global economy thing that's happening, whether people want to call it a correction or not.
Yeah.
And kind of, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I heard recently that the US government actually changed their definition of recession. So
My
that,
husband
if
said
you
that
heard that,
too.
right? So it's
Mhm.
like, oh, but we're not in recession. See, we changed it. I was
Look.
like,
Mhm.
huh? No, you can't. That's not right.
Uh,
So people need help right now. They
yeah.
need help financially, women and
Mhm.
men. They need help with their health for sure.
Yeah.
Again, they've never, again, in my experience and what I've experienced in my life, there's never been more a time where people are realizing that they have to take care of their health, and
Mhm.
it doesn't come from pharma,
Yeah.
and it's got to come from places that really support their body.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, just because everybody maybe is taking medications that, and there's reasons for that for sure, and purpose. So not to vilify that by any means, but just because everybody who's always tired and always, that doesn't mean that that's a normal thing,
Mhm.
right? Like, you're
Yes.
designed to be extraordinary. You're designed to live these long, incredible lives that are full of energy and passion, and yes, difficult trials and tribulations and hard things too. But you were able to take ownership in how you live your life.
Yeah.
And so I really see with this wellness company is such a gift on so many levels for,
Mhm.
yes, divorced women, yes,
Mhm.
families, to just start to change things. And I think people are more open, and
Mhm.
or they know, like, man, I got to get extra income.
Yeah.
My
Mhm.
business was just shut down
Yeah.
because the government just said shut down and turn it off like a tap.
Mm.
And then guess what? How many people lost their
So
businesses?
scary.
I
Mhm.
mean, it's, horrific what happened.
Mhm.
And so they're realizing also too that, oh my God, financially, I have to be prepared. I want to
Mhm.
take care of, and this company, by the way, too, is just such a big thing of like, be a good financial steward of your money.
Mhm. That's
Even
wonderful.
even if you're like
Mhm.
me at 54, of just like, God, even though I've earned money in my lifetime and then it's gone away and I should know better and professional and all this stuff, I still got a lot to learn to unwind all these beliefs I've had about money, but I
Yes.
don't
My
pass it on
gosh.
to my children at the same time. So there's
Mhm.
there's just so many pieces of this that I'm just so excited to share that people really need. And
Yeah.
it's really, it's like, it's mission for me. It's
Mhm.
mission.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It made me think of, I remember I'm in Florida in the US, and I remember seeing ads for like divorce attorneys, and it would say men
Mhm.
only. And I was like, why would it be they only
That's
help? Well,
interesting.
because
Yeah.
men, like if we look at statistics, I guess, men in a divorce are gonna have more money. Like they're gonna maybe be the breadwinners, and if the one,
Oh,
like
I get it.
the
Okay.
men are earning more of the money, so they're gonna represent men in a divorce because that's what
Maybe. Yeah.
Like, oh man, that's,
Yeah.
interesting, but yeah, I love it. I
Yeah.
love, and do you want to mention the name of the company just so people are
Sure.
listening?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
It's
what is
called
she
Q
talking about?
Sciences. Yeah, Q
Yeah.
Sciences. But for anybody that's listening that maybe wants to learn a little bit more, just you can reach out to me on Instagram. It's just under my name. It's Dr. Karen Osburn. You can just find me. Same on Facebook. I don't do anything really complicated. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I should set up my website again, or you can listen to my podcast when I'm wanting more,
Everybody's on
and
social media.
connect with me that way. And just social media is easy. Like, just send me a DM or start to
Mhm.
follow my stuff, and then just reach out. It's, we kind of often say that curiosity is not commitment.
Mhm. Yeah.
Even some I find too, where they're either with a company, like that was the case for me, and they're like, but I can't go and I can't. It's like, okay, it's totally fine, but sometimes things don't serve us any longer. Sometimes we can just like take a look and see.
Mhm.
But yeah, just to reach out and have a conversation. Like, it might
Mhm.
not be for that person, but I think
Mhm.
it's worth a chance to just like take a look, because
Yeah.
I'm glad that I did. I'm
Yeah.
glad that I said yes. Because if
Mhm.
I didn't, I don't know where I'd be
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for all. I'm like, I feel like there's so much wisdom and richness to this conversation. I mean, you
Oh, thank you,
really,
Lori.
just imparted so much in this conversation. I appreciate you sharing and just your vulnerability and everything. And yes, reach out. So I'll link these, but Dr. Karen Osburn on Instagram and on Facebook, and then the Women Wanting More podcast that is on Spotify.
Yes.
So
iTunes. Yeah. Thank you so
okay.
much, Lori. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I feel like I'm blessed, like, podcasting. I just get to talk to cool women and hear their stories all the
It's
time.
the
So.
best, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori.